Actually, very similar man to the libtard I discussed, Will Stancil, is the Steven Pinker, who, for all of Steven Pinker's supposed embrace of realism on matters of biological sex and such, he's, I don't know if he's evolutionary, I think he's neurobiologist or commenter on that at least, Steven Pinker. It's always welcome, realism on matters of biological sex and so forth, but I remember actually using Mr. Pinker's lectures to eat ice cream, and he would say stupid things like that chimpanzees have white skin and that race doesn't exist because it's a matter of skin color. So it's good that he's changed his mind, but he was a grown man saying stupid things like that. And that then other stupid things, such as it was a revelation to him at maybe 40 years of age that music could have a significance of any kind. This type of person, okay? And he wrote out a stupidity on a recent interview. Here, actually, I'll read this out so you can see just how absurd this is. I'm going to read this out. Jerome Lanier, I guess that's his interviewer, is speaking. I'd like to hypothesize one civilizing force, which is the perception of multiple overlapping hierarchies of status. I've observed this to be helpful in work dealing with rehabilitating gang members in Oakland. When there are multiple overlapping hierarchies of status, there is more of a chance of people not fighting their superior within the status chain. And the more severe the imposition of the single hierarchy in people's lives, the more likely they are to engage in conflict with one another. Part of America's success is the confusion factor of understanding how to assess somebody's status. Steven Pinker responds, "That's a profound observation. There are studies showing that violence is more common when people are confined to one pecking order, and all of their social worth depends on whether they are in that hierarchy, whereas if they belong to multiple overlapping groups, they can seek affirmations of worth elsewhere." For example, if I do something stupid when I'm driving and somebody gives me the finger and calls me an asshole, it's not the end of the world. Now listen to this, okay? I think to myself, I'm a tenured professor at Harvard. On the other hand, if status among men in the street was my only source of worth in life, I might have road rage and pull out a gun. Modernity comprises a lot of things, and it's hard to tease them apart, but I suspect that when you're not confined to a village or a clan, and you can seek your fortunes in a wide world, that is a pacifying force for exactly that reason. Okay, so you see what he's saying, and how pathetic is that? So on one hand, he's just channeling some of the sociological insights of Anglo mid-century sociology regarding modernization, differentiation process and such things. Neither of these men who I just read now are the ones who came up with these ideas. They should really attribute them to Anglo sociologists. But on the other hand, if you look aside from just the substance of what he's saying, he's really telling on himself. You're proud because you're a Harvard professor, and therefore, you are exempt from a challenge having to do it because you're a professor. And what have you achieved that allows you to be above the callings of natural manliness, right? Because he's saying I could really bust a cap in that motherfucker's ass if I wanted, but I restrain myself because I have this supposed status. They like this word status, and it's just, he's making excuses for being a pussy. And Benvenuto Cellini, who I just talked about, who is a celebrity in his own life, a real celebrity. Nobody actually knows who Steven Pinker is aside from, Benvenuto Cellini was a celebrity in his own life. He glorified himself with maybe the first great autobiography called My Life. A Renaissance artist genius of everlasting fame, made beautiful, objectively awe-inspiring statues. Do you think anyone will read Steven Pinker in 10 or 20 years? Even that? And Cellini, a timeless man, prided himself, however, on personally killing his brother's murderer with his own hands. And that's a great thing. That's something that both an Afghan fighter and an ancient Greek man would get. You see, Mr. Pinker, even a great ancient Greek thinker and artist would get that. He killed his brother's murderer with his own hands. You see, so what's this? This is absurd. This is what I'm talking about. It's a different breed of man that gives rise to the Renaissance or 17th century France, as opposed to this sniveling small dwarf man who's now proud because he's a glorified shopkeeper or clerk professor. You know, and the flip side of that, the complement of the ravenous genius of will, is what I will discuss on this next segment of this episode. The negative of this type, but really the complement of this individual, but the inevitable companion of the genius, and I would say even his prerequisite, is the criminal, the great criminal, the egotistic tyrant of political genius and untrammeled mad appetites. And the Renaissance is full of such. And I will be right back to discuss more on many such things.